Welcome to tutorial number 6, and today we're going to cover to-do lists and projects. So let's jump right in. You can select to-do lists from within projects, which we're going to cover in the second half of the tutorial, or you can go directly to tools and select to-dos. And you see here, this is the window that shows up for the to-do lists. Now that may look a little bit overwhelming at first, but it's actually relatively straightforward. So let's do a quick example. So let's say I wanted to do a to-do here, say pay my cable bill. Then I want to assign a dimension. I guess we assign a dimension environment, right? Environment meaning everything that's related to your surroundings, your household, errands, and things like that, right? And again, if you want to interpret the dimensions differently, do so. Just make sure you reflect on the 9 dimensions when you start using the software, and then stay consistent with using those, right? And then I can make a comment here and say, sign up for auto pay as well. So then the next time I won't have to create a to-do because it will be automatic, right? I can click here to remind me when the task is overdue. Priority, let's say it's high, the effort here is low. I want to start today and say I want to be done with this by this Friday. And when I save this here now, you can see there's a new task, high priority, with the red little marker here, pay my cable bill, right? So one thing you can do here is some tasks are tasks that we don't like to do. We procrastinate the task, and these are called the nagging tasks here. So if I think this task is nagging, I can save this here, and you see this little weight shows up every time you click on a nagging task, right? Now let's look at just the opposite tasks that we actually like to do. So let's put in one task here saying read the next issue of The Economist, and I think that's coming out on the 31st. So I want to read this between the 31st and the 1st of September. And we say medium priority, and the effort in this is probably medium as well. And I can say this is actually a task I like, right? I save this, and oops, nothing happened, right? So where did the task go? The reason is that this checkbox here, hide future to-do, is checked. And if I uncheck this, you'll see the task shows up, and you see the task has a start date here that's in the future. That's why it's hidden if I say hide future to-dos, right? And again, when I click on this one, you see the little heart shows up to pretty much indicates a task that I like to do. You can also assign people to a task, and one thing I did here is our demo user here is called Bob, so I put like a user for Bob in the database as well. And because a lot of times you want to refer to yourself when you're assigning things, right? So if you want to assign yourself to this task, right, you can do this and save. You see, if I switch between the tasks, you see there's nobody selected. If I go back here, since I just assigned Bob here, he will stay assigned to this task, right? So it's relatively straightforward. And lastly, on the right side here, the little sidebar pretty much shows you the percentage distribution between the categories. And of course, right now I only have 2 tasks, one in the environment, one in the intellectual categories. This is really neat here if you have dozens or even hundreds of tasks, right? You can see a nice distribution here to see kind of where your effort goes in the 9 dimensions. And then lastly, one thing, when you go to the preferences window and looking here at defaults, it says here hide future to-dos, right? So that's a preset for the to-do window. If I uncheck this here in the preferences and go back in the to-do list, you will see now by default the hide future to-dos is turned off. Okay, now let's look at the projects, and this is of course not a full-fledged project management software here, but it's quite a useful module in the software, and I found that for managing small or medium-sized projects that actually works very well. And actually, as I'm developing the software here, I'm using the project management project module in here to track some of the high-level things I need to do here with the software, right? So, but let's just jump into this, right? So you create a project by entering a project name, of course. So that's So here, demo project number 1. Can put in the description, some description. Assign a category. Let's say it's a work project starting today. Let's say we want to be finished October 31st. Say priority is medium, and we can save this. And as you can see here, as I'm saving this, you see there's this new project, demo project 1, some description, work life category, start and end date, and 0% complete and medium priority, right? So if I want to track or record some progress here on the percent complete, and of course this is based on your personal assessment, so let's say you're 15% done at some point, you can change this here, and as you save this, unselect this, you can see that. So it says here 15% complete, and you see the little progress bar here shows that as well, right? What you can also do is you can assign people to the project. So Bob here is our demonstration user, so Bob is ourselves in this example here. So let's say we are the leader of this project, and say Lizzie Lizard works with us on here as well, right? So you see these if I unselect this, of course the people will disappear, so go back to the project. So these are the people assigned to the project. We had already looked at to-do lists. If I want to add to-dos for a project, I can click on this little icon here, and you see what happens now is you get the same to-do window we already saw previously, except it says now here demo project 1, which is our project name here. So everything I record here is related to this project, right? So let's just save this here without further. And again, if I go back from the project, of course I will only see the to-dos for the project in here. So let's see if you have still from our previous section the other to-dos here, right, that we entered just a while ago. And you see our project task now is in here, and now if I click the button show only a to-dos not assigned to a project, the task we just entered disappears, right? So we can hide this from the general population of tasks, right? So that's kind of how you link to-dos to projects. What you can also do is link nodes to projects. And again, we have to select the project first to do that. And we're not going to cover this here now, because we're going to cover the notepad here in a little later section or tutorial. So, but just remember for now you can link nodes, which you will see in a later tutorial, to projects as well. We had already looked at ideas, right? So now if I click on this idea button, you'll see it demo project is highlighted here, right? You can see here an idea for project 1. And I can save this, and you can see this here, right? So this will stay with the project. Excuse me. Well, it's allergy season in Texas, so I apologize for that. So let's get back to the session here. So that's how you link ideas. Checklists can be linked to projects as well, and we won't cover this here. We won't cover notepads because checklists are covered in a later tutorial. Just remember here again, checklists can be linked to projects as well. And then there's one specific thing that is particular to projects, which is milestones. So that's simply saying, project 1. So say I want to have a milestone, whatever that may be, on 9:30. All right, I can enter here. So let's say another milestone, and now at say 10:15. And so what you can do then, as you progress with the project, you can kind of check off the milestones here as you're progressing, right? Last thing I want to look at and show you here with projects is the review function. And so when you click this, it pretty much brings up the review module, right? And before we look into what this specifically does, let me just go back and show you how you can also use this in the to-do editor. So remember, in the to-do list, What we hadn't looked at is how you complete a task, right? So let's go back to our task here that we entered before to pay our cable bill. As we are completing this task, or I can say, okay, we're completing this task that we entered here yesterday, today, we can save this, right? You see now the task has disappeared. The reason is what I checked here, hide completed to do. So get this back, we can look here. Now, as we have completed this task, you can also do a review of this task, right? So you get the same window here, and you see if you click this from the to-do list, you see the category is to do, right? If we go back to the projects, if I do a review from a project, it will simply say category is project, right? So the review activity module is not really linked to either to-dos or projects. It's a general review module, which you can also get from the tools menu, right, to do a review. And the only thing is, if you do call it from a to-do, it will assign the to-do category by default, and for meeting the meeting category. And what this really does is, as let's say in this case you're done with the project, right? So we can say, so what went well, right? And you can enter a couple of things here that went well, right? Or could have done better, right? So I'll say improve 1, improve 2, improve 3. Good one. So this is just dummy words here now, right? So as you save this, you see this will show up here, and so you can later recall this, and you see that little icon here says that this review is linked to a project. If I do the same thing from a to-do, right? So this one here, where we looked previously, we want to do the review, and we review a to-do, right? So let me just save this here without any specifics in here. You see there's a little different icon here, which shows that little to-do icon here, right? And what you can also do is, and we haven't covered this one, and this is the last thing we're going to cover in projects, is meetings. So again, we have to look at the project. So this is pretty much a standard, meeting tracker. So let's say here a conference call. Let's say this is today from noon till 1 p.m. See, it's a conference call. You can save this here. As soon as it's saved, you can add people to the conference call. So let's say it's ourselves and Jane Doe and John Doe, right? So the most important thing about this here, again, it's about forming good habits. So a good habit is when you do a meeting, rather than just going into conference call after conference call and just get them over with, you prepare for the meeting, right? And how do you prepare? You say, what do you really want to achieve in this meeting, right? So say finalize the budget, right? High priority, right? Another thing I want to achieve, say get the team members on board with my ideas. Say that's a medium priorities, okay? And then you can say discuss vacation schedule. Say it's a lower priority. So you have these three things you want to achieve in this meeting. As you go into the meeting, of course, you can take free-form notes, right? So can do this. Now the important thing is, once you're done with the meeting, you can do two things, right? One is to pretty much check off which of the items you have achieved in this meeting, and also again you can go to a review model, and you see now the category is set to meeting, and you can see, okay, so what could have done better in this meeting, and what did I do really well, right? And if I save this, you see that icon here shows it's a meeting, right? So let's leave this here. To recap, we looked today at how you build projects, how you link projects to all these different other sections of the project, including meetings, including to-dos, right, which is what we covered in the first part of the session. Here is to-dos, with notes, with ideas,